Hebrew 13:5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he had said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Okay. Actually, I did address it. People use this verse to defend once saved, always saved, making the same error as with John 10:28. They ignore the fact that the security provided by Jesus is dependent on being an obedient servant of Christ, right? Look, he's saying, let your conversation be without covetousness. Be content with such things as ye have. For I have said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Even, I didn't get a chance to flesh out this point, but I'm just saying, even in this verse right here, we're seeing behaviors being commanded. This is a command. If I tell you, right, it didn't say, it is recommended that your conversation be without covetousness. It doesn't say it is in your best interest that your conversation be without covetousness. He says, let your conversation be without covetousness. It is a command.
So I'm actually pretty confused why he even included that. Let's look at the verse, I guess. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have, for he had said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. So he tries to tie in the fact that it says, let your conversation be without covetousness to what is being said here. But the word for here means because. So he's saying, change your behavior, do certain things because he has promised he will never leave you or forsake you. And so it's not saying that this is dependent on what you do, but rather saying that you should change what you do because he already made a promise to you. So let me kind of explain it this way. A good way that I've heard my pastor explain once saved, always saved in general is that he has explained that God does not require us to obey at the threat of a gun. So he doesn't put a gun to your head and say, you need to obey my commandments, otherwise you're going to hell. Because, hey, if I point a gun at people's head, I can get them to do a lot of things. But it would not be out of true love for Christ, but rather out of fear of me pulling the trigger. In the same way, if you threaten people with going to hell if they don't obey the commandments, you might get people that will obey the commandments. But it's not out of true love for Christ, but because they're afraid that they'll go to hell. The promise of once saved, always saved actually helps us to serve Christ without any ulterior motives. The promise that God makes to us that he will never leave us, he will never forsake us, means that we can serve Christ freely out of true love, and we don't have any ulterior motives of us trying to earn our way to heaven or us trying to make sure that we don't do bad so that we don't go to hell. No, we can do it out of a pure heart, out of pure love, because we don't have to worry about going to hell. We don't have to worry about losing our salvation. God said that he will never leave me or forsake me, so I can serve him freely because I have no fear of hell. I can serve him out of true love for him. And so that's what this verse is saying. Don't have covetousness. Be content with what you have because God has already made a promise to you that he will never forsake you and he will never leave you. It is in no way, it doesn't matter how you read this verse. This is not saying that this is dependent on what you do.